This video will explain 4 things: the world of Deltarune's end, the demon Kris is summoned, the hidden purpose of Castletown, that Mother Threery is real, and that we very likely know the ending to Toby Fox's dream. Let's start. Chapter 5 has launched, and now it's clear more than ever the end of the world of Deltarune is near, and it's clear as day. It would also seem I'm far from the only person that thinks so. In the last month, even down to the last very few days, there's been a massive influx of high-quality videos that, oddly enough for the most part, has shown a lot of us are on the same page. The sun has officially begun to set on the last of our fun adventures, and from this point on in our journey, we'll be entering its melancholy final hours. Chapter 5's B-side spared no time in confirming my initial suspicion that Sans is in fact native to the world of Deltarune, beyond a shadow of a doubt, which now we understand is the origin of the 3 people that we don't recognize from the picture in his lab. This silly coupon doubles as a grim memento of the world he left behind, most likely out of a necessity for survival. For a very quick refresher on my original theory where I explained Susie will somehow be a key role in the destruction of the world of Deltarune, I pointed to symbolism and constant instances of foreshadowing, be it through dialogue, visuals, or even gameplay. In particular, I'm shocked I failed to mention a minigame that I'm sure will serve as a macabre foreshadowing incident come Deltarune's end. Since my video, a few new stellar ones have surfaced, even one recently by Comic Drake of all people, where he takes a stab at interpreting the game's ending using Moon Remixed RPG as to where I used Mother 3. And as someone who has completed and loves Moon Remix, I'm shocked I didn't realize the whole idea of an important endgame dragon in yet another series Toby has taken inspiration from. It just somehow got past me. I mean, ironically enough, in my video, I even used the track from Moon called I Will Be Valorous Until Death. It's one of the background songs, and I somehow still miss this connection because yes, at the end of the day, both of these titles have games where dragons are synonymous within the end of their respective worlds. And yes, I'll make it clear now, I believe that Moon in particular does assist with one of the longest running mysteries of Deltarune, that being the whole deal with Kris summoning a demon. And to do this, I would like to bring to everyone's attention a phenomenal theory video that's merely days old by a brand new YouTuber named Loft, who, similar to Zero K in my initial video, gave me a eureka moment due to his phenomenal analysis skills. That is to say, the reason I was able to make this specific link with Kris and his demon summoning mystery came from one of Loft's most fascinating points that he made through his video. Take a listen.
Right says the other half of the word. Dark. D-ark. D-ark. Worlds. Determination. Arc worlds. Fancy, isn't it?
Let's see. Come with me into the dark, with your heart as the ark. That would be as brilliant of a reading as it could really get. And if Toby really is playing with words on this deep of a level, I just have to say, great job, Radiation Man. However, to give some fuel to this idea that you're creating a dark world ark, sort of like Noah's Ark in the Bible, this fantastically serves into my idea that the denizens of Undertale will undergo a migration from the world of Deltarune into it, just like in Mother 3, in which you find out that everyone inhabiting the Nowhere Islands is from another world, in which they arrived on a white ship, in other words, a white ark, to go off and start their new lives with all of their old memories of the past life being placed inside of an egg. Now, what does any of this have to do with Kris summoning a demon? Well, I believe in some weird way Kris's mysterious and eerie plans may be in the name of something, well, not innately malicious, but from a place that's quite the opposite. I believe he's doing this, whatever he's up to, in the hopes to achieve some form of atonement for a scenario that we're not quite familiar with yet, sort of like Asgore. It's been made abundantly clear that there is something seemingly eating at Kris. He's hiding something and going for extremely drastic lengths to keep it away from us. That just has to do with either some sort of severe guilt or even more likely shame. Everyone is so concerned with who or what the demon is, but they never really look into why Kris tried to summon it in the first place. And right now, I believe it's some sort of deal with the devil, and that the devil in this context is Gaster. A deal we haven't seen firsthand as of yet, but that I believe was made by Kris willingly to try to atone or make up for something. And in return, Gaster will likely retrieve some form of data, using Kris's body as the exchange for what you should know by now is a vessel for your heart. Let's go back and think for a second again about the line, "Come with me into the dark with your heart as the ark." Loth mentions how the characters at the end of Moon are shown in the real world after the events of the game. And funny enough, in my last video that sadly didn't perform all too hot, I actually talked explicitly about how the characters in Moon live on through the memories and the lessons you learn from them. In short, Loth believes that Castletown is being used as an ark for the monsters you're able to save. The idea that I propose here is the data that he's using from Kris to make a Dark World ark will somehow be reverse engineered into the device that will actually carry the Lightners into their new home. So there you go. That's both a dark ark, the ark, and a light ark, which, funny enough, another way to say light ark, can't that be light ship? The two worlds being saved would also add up, because in a way, yeah, the people, all the Lightners, get their own new home, and the home of the dark ark will be, well, with us, in our heart, the player. Gaster is very commonly known to be used as some sort of devil figure, with all the mark of the beast stuff going on, and there's also a lot of apple symbolism surrounding Kris, which at this point, just to be clear, we don't know the exact kind of fruit was eaten in the Garden of Eden in the Bible, but most commonly it's depicted as an apple for obvious reasons. It's very easy to process. My belief is that this so-called demon that was summoned was Gaster, and he probably summoned it by doing some ritual that most certainly had to be some sort of game-breaking glitch. Yeah, with how the weird route chapter 5 went down, I'm pretty sure it was something like that. Having even more mother on the mind, it seems like, yeah, that bread wasn't so random after all. Gaster, probably coming as the role of a tempter, probably gave Kris an offer to try to undo or make something right. And being a naive child, Kris likely took whatever deal it was. I mean, I always wondered why Kris seemed so mad when we explicitly ventured towards the B-side adventure. He doesn't seem to align with the insane decisions that we're making with harmful consequences, and it really seems like he doesn't want to see anyone get hurt. It's odd because it's also very clear that as a kid, Kris was very mischievous, a bit of a tormentor, and definitely a prankster. But if you ask me, Kris kind of reminds me of Porky Minch. He's a little bit of a brat, but Kris seems like a deconstruction of the idea that maybe at some point Porky was just a bratty kid and not really anything evil before giving himself as a vessel to enact Gygas's evil in exchange for power. Kris acts as a hand of Gaster under some sort of false pretense that benefits himself, at least in the moment, but it will probably end up serving Gaster greater in the long term. Most explicitly, like I said, letting him play God with his experiments until eventually that will catch up to him come the events of Undertale. Now, I really want to take a second to entertain some other interesting things that's been on my mind as of recent. Think of them as simply additional food for thought now that the new chapters come out, and I'd love if any of you guys could chime in. First of all, the closer we get to what I believe to be the cataclysmic climax of Deltarune, I've been recently fixating on ideas that may connect these worlds even further into the world of Undertale. For starters, I've been kind of hung up on the name Snowden, and it's been kind of adopting a more sinister connotation in my mind as of late, even more so after Chapter 5's read-around. I'm really getting a gut feeling that somehow Noel's Snowgrave spell is how the land came to be snowed in. And this kind of thing could happen regardless of your route when you consider that it seems like she'll be making an appearance no matter what. I assume in either an instance or a moment of desperation, Noelle might be pushed against a wall and out of some form of defense for either herself or maybe preserving someone else, she's gonna cast some sort of massive snowstorm in an act to attempt to dispel some sort of unknown threat. Next thing I want to take a crack at surely, must, and likely will be wrong. But unlike everything in this video thus far, before my final topic, I want to give my idea on the whole Kris loses arm theory. I want to take a stab at it mostly for fun. So don't take this one too seriously or like anything I get behind, but I want to at least throw my hat into the ring. If you recall my last video, I sincerely believe Susie's Rude Buster technique will evolve into something called the Planet Buster. To fully understand that and elaborate, I really implore you to check out that first video. However, in my obsession over the years with Rude Buster, there have been times where I've countlessly tried to piece some sort of acronym out of it, kind of like Love and EXP, but I never could. That is until very, very recently. Now, before I jump into what I'm gonna say, let me give you some context so you don't just write me off, because we're gonna take a really new angle at this. Quick thing, people believe that Kris losing their arm may be inspired by Toby's personal hand injury and the way it's affected his progression in his creative process. And two is pretty simple. Toby Fox is really in love with Japan. I mean, he literally calls Undertale a Japanese-style role-playing game. Explicitly in an interview, he's gone as far as to learn some of the language, and even making Chapter 5 Japan-inspired for the most part is seemingly innocuous and there's not really a clear reason for it. Like, I didn't notice anything particularly Japanese in Asgore's room. However, I was still all in. But with that all in mind, what if there was some sort of naming secret with Rude Buster that was more for foreshadowing purposes rather than some sort of in-universe one? Well, I noticed that you need quite a bit of the letters in Rude Buster to spell out Deltarune, and by being very, very selective and withdrawing some letters while leaving some above, I got this, Ude Buster. Now this is the part where I give you permission to laugh at me, because I looked up Ude sheerly out of the hunch that it looked Japanese, and it turns out, wow, yeah it is. And what does Ude translate into? Oh, wow, it translates to arm. In particular, it has a hand in, pun intended, being synonymous with creativity as well. I could keep on shouting about our inevitable confrontation with Susie until the end of time, especially now that in Chapter 5, we've seen that she's willing to take on anyone that gets in the way of threatening her new home. Even with her role as the hero, she's willing to pay the price if the price is at the cost of others' home. I really want to drag home here that she considers Castletown her real home. I really believe she won't let anyone interfere with the world she's fallen so in love with, that's given her so much, more than her actual home in her real life. That is to say, when the time comes and all hell breaks loose, and we have to fight Susie again in direct opposition, I'm just gonna say it's very possible that Susie will be responsible for Kris losing his arm, and maybe by using a Rude Buster or Ude Buster. Congratulations to me, I just made the most reach Deltarune theory of all time. But even if I'm right, somehow in a million years, it really was just a lucky guess, and possibly the luckiest one in theorizing history. But it most certainly won't happen. But if it does, you know, you heard it here first, I guess. To bring today's video to an end, I want to clarify something. I have never played the video game off before, and sadly it's been spoiled for me due to this recent wave of Deltarune speculation, as I've been playing a lot of catch up with these theories as of late, because honestly before I made my video, I've been completely out of the loop with Deltarune discussion for pretty much years. That being said, the game's ending also seems to have a conclusion of yet another example of a video game world coming to an abrupt end. And sure enough, yes, it's another game that has influenced Toby. And it reminds me, in my last video I likened Mother 3's ending to being something like the Sopranos ending of Game. And then that eventually got me to thinking, I actually think I have a really good idea of how Toby's dream ended from that infamous fever-ridden night. I'm just begging you guys to stick with me here, because in order to get to Toby's thing, I need to talk about my dream. I had a really, really bizarre dream the other night that I just need to tell you about before I tell you how I think Toby's dream ended. It's relevant, trust me. In my last dream, things got really weird. I was sitting at this diner and I was surrounded by like a bunch of people. A few people had walked in through like the front entrance. I was just snacking on some onion rings. And then my girlfriend came in